This module might be one of the most important modules in the entire Freedom Ticket. I encourage you to watch this module probably 2 or 3 times to make sure you understand everything that this guest speaker is about to say. You know, Perry Belcher is one of the top people in e-commerce, period, not just on Amazon, but in e-commerce, period. And he recently said on a Clubhouse forum that people on Amazon buy photos, they don't buy products. And I believe that's 100% true. So in this module, I've invited Anthony Confrancesco on, who actually works for PickFu, a company that actually allows you to split test and test different images to different audiences. Now, Helium 10 also has a tool in partnership with PickFu called Audiences, where you can do this within the Helium 10 tool as well, just the same way. You don't need to go to PickFu. But Anthony has access to some inside data, some amazing stuff, where he's seen different split testing. He's been able to run a bunch of different tests. So he really knows what works when it comes to images and what doesn't work. So he's going to be sharing with you some real life examples of how you can really juice up your listing and really just put it on steroids with some amazing images. And this is something that you really need to pay close attention to, because it's going to make a huge difference in your business if you implement what he's about to teach you in the correct way. So Anthony, welcome. I'm excited to see what you have to share today.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Anthony Confrancesco, and I am so incredibly excited to be taking part in the Freedom Ticket 3.0. This talk is going to be best practices for conversion optimization, and this is all broken down into 2 parts. Part 1 is all about the essential framework, really helping you to understand what is conversion optimization, why you should care as an Amazon FBA seller, and what you can actually start doing to think about conversion optimization in a way that's going to help you get inside your customer's brain, increase your conversion rate, and make more sales. So even if you think you have a good understanding of what conversion rate is, I'm going to highly and strongly recommend stay for this first part. It's really going to help you understand the why in terms of when you're going and managing and creating your creative assets. And then in part 2, we're going to dive deep into all of the different creative strategies. Now, I'm not going to tell you too much about myself, but just a quick 15-second version is that I used to work at Amazon. I quit my job about 4 years ago, moved to the Philippines to create a creative agency. We scaled that agency to more than 30 full-time employees. I helped hundreds of Amazon sellers by doing their photography, their graphic design, copywriting, and video. And now I'm the industry liaison at PickFu. I get to help service some of our largest clients and work on educational materials all around conversion optimization. So with that being said, let's jump right in. And again, this is the framework for conversion optimization. So success on Amazon really comes down to 2 main factors. You've got your traffic, which is what can you do to actually increase people coming to your actual listings, and you actually have conversion. And conversion is all about what can you do that when someone is on your listing to increase the probability that they're going to click add to cart, that they're going to buy your product, right? And so the thing that this talk is going to be all about, there's going to be other talks that are going to talk about traffic. This talk is all about conversion. And I really find that conversion rate is the most important metric. And that's for a few different reasons. First and foremost is your higher of a conversion rate that you have, the higher direct sales you're going to have. As well, the higher your conversion rate is, it's going to lower your ad spend. And then most importantly, the higher your conversion rate, the Amazon algorithm is going to reward your listing. And over time, your BSR is going to drop. And then your organic ranking is going to increase. And that's how you make it up to page 1. So again, just to define what is conversion, really, I look at it as what can you do as a seller to increase the probability that when someone lands on your Amazon listing, that they're going to click add to cart, that they're going to buy the product. So when it comes down to conversion rate, there's 3 main factors that are going to increase your conversion rate. You've got the price, you've got the number of positive reviews, and then you have the visual quality of the listing. Now, this talk is going to focus all on visual quality. And if you're a brand new seller, I would strongly encourage you to start thinking about visual quality as the most important thing that you can do to increase your conversion rate. And the reason why is that if you're focusing just on price, if you're focusing just on reviews, these are things that are very out of your control. You have competitors that can come in, they can drive down their price. They have people that can come in and manipulate reviews. So you really want to focus on visual quality. It's much more difficult to fake, and it really is going to speak a lot more about the quality and overall reputation of your brand. So before I dive in, one thing that I really need you to understand is that the human brain is basically a giant graphics processor. Every second that your eyeballs are open, your brain is interpreting visual information and it's using that information to make decisions about how you want to interact with the world around you. About 90% of all of the information that's transmitted through your brain is visual, and the human brain is going to process an image 60,000 times faster than text. So why am I telling you all of this? The reason I'm telling you all this is because when someone is shopping for your product, the first thing that they're going to see before they even realize at a conscious level, their brain is going to be processing everything about your listing, everything from your title to your photos to your A+ content to your video. It's going to be processing all of that information, right? Every second that their eyeballs are open. And they're going to be going through a checkbox in their head. Does this seller look legitimate? Does this product have all the features that I need? Are there any obstacles or objections that I have about the product? And before they're going to click buy, before they're going to add the product to the cart, their brain has to check off all of these individual boxes. And the thing that you have to understand about people shopping on Amazon is the default is not for them to buy the first product that they see. They're most likely going to open up different tabs and they're going to search around to see which one of the competitors selling a very similar product is going to be the first one to check off all of their boxes. And so what your job is as a seller is to communicate all of these things, to check off all of those boxes in your customer's brain so that they can move the customer towards a buying action. So the good news, though, is as a seller, you have so many different tools that you can use to help check these boxes off. Right? You've got things like your main image, your packaging, your infographics, all of the different things that you can have on your listing. That's what we're going to jump into in part 2 of the course, actual strategies for how you can optimize these different creative assets to get better results and higher conversion rates. So the goal at the end of the day, though, is you want to engage the customer. You want to convince the customer to consume as much information, most likely as much visual information about your product. You want to get them to consume that information to check off those boxes in their head to increase the probability that when they land on your product, they're going to click add to cart. So a really important thing that you have to understand about your customer shopping on Amazon is that when they're shopping, they are going to be distracted, right? We have an expectation in a lot of our minds as sellers that when someone's shopping for your product, that they're going to be a captive audience. Right? That they're going to be sitting there, they've got their credit card in hand, they've got their laptop open, and all they're focusing on is buying your product. But in reality, that's not really the case. The reality is that when someone is shopping on Amazon, they are distracted. They've got the kids running around in the background, the dogs barking, the phones going off. It's been a crazy year with COVID. And so when they're in this distracted environment, the default is not for them to buy the product. The default is for them to bounce. They're most likely going to shop around. They might actually get distracted and end up buying the product later. And so what your real goal is to take them out of this distracted environment where all of these things are going on, get them laser focused on what your product is, why their product is going to solve the specific problem that they're looking for, pull them out of this distracted environment and get them to buy the product, get them to convert as a customer. So again, to recap, your goal as a seller is you want to grab the customer's attention. You want to communicate extremely efficiently why your product, out of all of the other competitors selling something similar, is what they want to buy. And you want to convince them to actually buy this product. So in order to help visualize this, I'm going to give an example of a product most people are probably familiar with, and it's a wine aerator. So let's imagine we're trying to sell this product, right? This is something that we call the awareness funnel. And so as someone moves down the awareness funnel, they become more likely to become a shopper, to become a buyer of the product. So everyone starts out, most of the people are going to start out at what we call problem aware. So when someone problem aware, if they're searching for a wine aerator, they might go to somewhere like Google or YouTube and type in something to solve a specific problem. So they might type in, make wine taste better. Once they become solution aware, they're moving down this ladder. And now instead of looking to make wine taste better, they've already found the solution for that problem. And so now, instead of just searching for that first term, they're going to search for wine aerator. This is someone who's solution aware. When someone gets all the way down to the bottom of that funnel, now they already know what the problem is. They know how they're going to solve that problem. And now they're going to be product aware. So they are aware of a specific product. So now they might type in something like the Venturi V1010 aerator. The thing that's really important, this is so crucial to understand about selling on Amazon, is that the vast majority of people that are shopping on Amazon are either solution aware or product aware. This means that by the time they get to Amazon, by the time they type in either of these search terms, they already know that they want to buy a wine aerator, and they will buy a wine aerator. The only question is, are they going to buy your specific wine aerator, or are they going to buy one of your competitions, right? And so when someone's solution aware, what they're looking for is, does this product have the features I need to solve this problem? And when they're product aware, they want to know, how does this specific product compare with other top sellers or other top brands? And so that's what this presentation is all centering around today. If someone's there, they know they want to buy a wine aerator, what can you do to actually increase the probability that they're going to buy your specific wine aerator? So again, your goal as a seller is to help the customer as quickly and efficiently as possible solve this problem here, right? Solve this equation. I've got a problem. There's multiple sellers all offering to solve the same problem. Which one, if I buy it, is going to solve the problem, make my life better, make me happier, and then I can go about my life sipping pina coladas on the beach. So again, to remember, there's only two options. As a shopper, you're either going to buy or bounce. Bounce is not the default. You have to push them over. You have to be very efficient in communicating to get them to buy the product. So back when I first started selling on Amazon, this is what I would put out. People would say, what's a good conversion rate? What should I be shooting for? And generally, I'd say you want to have about 8% for a base conversion rate, 8 to 10%, 20% for a good conversion rate, and 40+% for a great conversion rate. Hitting these target conversion rates actually could likely put you on page one for the search results. But what has happened in 2020 and beyond, this is ever since COVID-19 has really spread, is that the pace of e-commerce competition has rapidly accelerated. So back in 2020, major brands like Pier 1 Imports, Walgreens, JCPenney, they went out of business or they closed a significant amount of stores. And so there might be some people saying they're like, well, Victoria's Secret didn't go out of business. And it's true, they didn't go out of business. They just closed something like 700 stores in North America. And I can guarantee what didn't happen at their corporate offices is there's people sitting on their marketing team saying, hey, we closed 700 stores. Everything is shifting to e-commerce. What should we do? And they said, don't worry about it. Everything is going to be fine. That's not at all what happened. It's the exact opposite. What these companies did is they said, we understand that e-commerce is the way of the future. And we need to take our resources from a brick and mortar retail environment, and we need to shift those into how can we dominate as well in the e-commerce space. Another big factor that has made this whole area much more competitive in terms of visual optimization is we've got these major brands, these aggregators that are coming in, buying existing FBA brands, and then dedicating a tremendous amount of resources to making the look and feel of their brands next level to compete with these national level brands. So I'm sure most of these up here on the screen you've heard of before, right? There's many more aggregators than this. I'm just putting up a few. Almost all of them work with us here at PickFu. These companies are not focusing just on how can we get more reviews? How can we drop down the price of this product? What they are focusing on is how can we make our brand look and feel like it's a national leading brand, and what can we do to drastically increase our conversion rates? So with that being said, all of these numbers that I used to put up on the screen, 8, 20, 40%, I don't think that these are accurate anymore. These numbers have jumped significantly because these companies, these teams have gone in, they've realized if we want to have a high conversion rate, we can't focus just on price and reviews. We have to make our listing really clean, really dynamic from a visual perspective. And now these conversion rates just to get on page one are going up drastically. So a base conversion rate, something around 20%, a good conversion rate of about 40%, and then what I would call a great conversion rate of something 65+%. And if 65% higher of a conversion rate, or higher rather of a conversion rate sounds really big, just wait, because I'm going to share something really crazy with you. Now, I get questions from a lot of sellers and they're like, wait, I just started selling on Amazon. I know conversion rate is important, but when I'm inside Seller Central, I don't see any conversion rate metric. And so where you're going to find what we would typically define as the conversion rate, where you're going to find that inside Seller Central is you're going to go into business reports, and it's actually going to be linked under unit session percentage. And a unit session percentage is a really simple metric. It's the closest thing we have to conversion rate. And it just basically means how many people come to the listing and what percentage of those are actually going to buy one product. So this is actually a snapshot that I took earlier, maybe I think it was yesterday. These are products that I sell. And you'll notice that the conversion rate is really, really high. We've got a 76, 105%. We've also even got a 92 and a 144%. So you're probably thinking, Anthony, how the heck can you have a conversion rate that's higher than 100%? And so this is the first golden nugget that I'm going to give you that a lot of people don't know, is that you can actually get a higher than a 100% unit session percentage by increasing the times that people actually buy more than one quantity of a product, right? Because think about it like this: unit session percentage is the calculation of how many people come to the listing and how many products that they buy. So for example, if you have two customers that come to the listing and one of them buys one product or they get one purchase, then your unit session percentage is going to be 50%. If you have one visitor, they make one purchase, that's going to be a 100% unit session percentage. If you have one visitor that makes two purchases, right? It's pretty simple math. You're going to have a 200% unit session percentage. So in this case, our products that are doing very, very well, the 102% and the 144% unit session percentage, those are because these are B2B customers, B2B sales. So these people are coming in and they're not just buying one product. Sometimes they're buying 2 or even 3+ products. So just something to keep in mind there. The Amazon algorithm, how it's currently set up, from what I understand, unit session percentage is one of the most important factors in terms of ranking, right? And it makes sense as to why. Amazon has set up their whole platform. What they want, what they determine as the most important factor of success is, if they send someone to your listing, will someone go and spend money on Amazon? Will they add to cart? Will they become a customer? So if Amazon wants to increase their revenue, if they want to increase sales, right, they're going to want to see, okay, if we push this person up onto page 1, further up page 1, first result on page 1, give them the bestseller badge, right? If we do that, we know that they're going to drive 100%, 75%, 65+% unit session percentage. Of course, they're going to start to rank those sellers based on who has the highest number in that regard. So again, this is all about the essential framework of what conversion optimization is. I think it's been pretty clear, okay, this is something that's important. You're going to develop in terms of increasing your conversion rate. How can you better communicate with the customer's brain? The thing that I want to wrap up with in this talk is developing your creative strategy, right? Part 2 is all going to be, we're going to dive into how to optimize your main image, how to optimize your infographics. We're going to talk about all of that in part 2, but I want to wrap up the beginning of part 1 with what I call developing your creative strategy. And this comes from personal experience from running an agency, again, that we scaled to more than 25 full-time employees. We were able to exit that agency to a small aggregator in 2019. And I learned a lot of things, right? I'm still learning things as I launch and develop my own products and work on other clients' products. And this is going to be all about how you can actually get better creative assets. So first and foremost is, I want to put something in your brain here. One of the clients that we work with, one of the biggest aggregators in the space, they're called Thrasio. They had this brand Angry Orange, right? They acquired this brand when the brand was worth about $2 million. Angry Orange is a pet deodorizer. And when they acquired this brand, again, it was doing $2 million. It had this product packaging, right? And I think a lot of people, especially if you're new sellers, you would think, I'd love to have a brand that was worth $2 million. But the whole moral of this story is, they had this existing product packaging over on the left-hand side, not terrible, but not amazing. And then they made a lot of changes, a lot of really good creative changes that focused on how they can leverage the customer's brain to convince them, this is the pet deodorizer you're looking for. This has all the features. We are a reputable brand. And when they changed the product packaging, they grew this brand almost overnight from $2 to $20 million in sales. Now, why am I telling you this story? The reason why is because a lot of people are going to look at this and they're going to say, okay, how do I go from the product packaging on the left to the product packaging on the right? And a lot of people are going to say, well, I'll just go to Fiverr. I'll go to Upwork. I'll hire an agency and I'll say, hey, make my product packaging better. And then we're just going to go from that point A to point B, $2 million to $20 million in sales. And what I really want to leave you with today is that is not the reality of how working with creative teams And that is not the reality of how you create amazing visual quality. The reality of the situation, I'm going to skip around here just to, I'll go back on the other two slides. But the reality is that they didn't go from this first product packaging to this amazing product packaging. What they did is they created a bunch of different variations in between. They were testing, they were seeing what are the core elements, what are the individual pieces of this product packaging that people actually want to see. Now, I'm going to dive into this example in really good depth in module 2. We're going to talk specifically about product packaging, but I want you to start thinking as a seller, especially if you're a new seller, when you're building out your SOPs, right? When you're starting to build your creative assets, that you are not going to go from having just starting out, just launching a product, and then coming up with this multi-million-dollar idea. It's going to take a lot of iterations going back and forth, right? And it's going to be something you need to invest in. So if you're a brand new seller and you're saying, hey, I'm launching a product, right? I want this to be a really big seller. I want to be on page 1. I want to be a multi-million-dollar Amazon seller. You're not going to get there from going and saying, I'm going to try to skimp out on creative. I'm going to try to do the cheapest thing possible. I'm going to hire my friend with a camera or my cousin who's a graphic designer to get all this work done. Again, think you're competing with these major companies now, teams that are really built out. They really know what they're doing in terms of building out good creative assets, right? And so the same way that you wouldn't skimp on your quality inspections, the same way you wouldn't skimp on your cost of goods, the same way you wouldn't skimp and say, hey, Amazon's charging me a fulfillment fee. Why don't I just go and mail out all of my packages myself, right? You're not going to do that. What you need to start doing is you need to start thinking, how can I invest from the beginning of my Amazon selling journey, even if it's just $1,000 or $2,000, how can I invest and make sure that the creative assets that I'm putting together are actually going to be something that looks amazing? Because again, remember, visual quality is the most important factor in terms of increasing your conversion rate. So one of the things that you should also start thinking as a brand owner is this concept of discernment. And so when you first start managing creatives, for me, I don't even know how to use a camera. For this shooting, I'm in a studio. We've got a professional behind the camera. I don't make these slides. I have designers that make it. And so a lot of sellers might get nervous and they're saying, well, I'm not creative. How am I supposed to go and lead a team to create creative assets? And so that's why I want to leave you with this. This is going to be the most important thing once you start to manage creatives, once you start to build out your own teams. And that is that creativity takes hours, replication takes minutes, and discernment takes seconds. So what does that mean? If I would go to a new designer and I'd say, hey, I want you to make me really good product packaging for my pet deodorizer, that might take that designer hours and hours and hours to put together. If I were to go again back to that designer and I'd say, hey, I've got the packaging that I just showed you. I've got a really good example. I want you to make me a product packaging that follows that mood, that's very similar to what we just saw. That it probably won't take them hours to replicate that. It'll probably just take them a matter of minutes, right? Much shorter time frame. But discernment takes a matter of seconds. And so what you really want to have your team to start doing is to not just come up with one version of the product packaging, but they're going to come up with maybe 2 or 3 different versions. And then they present these to you, and your job as a brand owner isn't going to be able to create things from scratch, isn't going to be able to replicate what the competitors are doing. Yours is just going to be to look at what are the designs, what are the different studies that my creative team has put together, and all I need to start doing is discerning which one out of these 3 is best. And is our brand, what do we have for our creative assets? Is this better than what the competitors have? So you can improve this really quickly and really easily by something that I call speed scanning. And so speed scanning is basically where you're going to look at all of your competitors, right? You might go 4 or 5 pages deep into all of your competitors selling a similar product, right? And then you're just going to start to look through very quickly. You're going to look through all of the main images. You're going to look through all the infographics, and you're going to click through very quick. Click, 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 click. And you're going to be like, that's something that's cool. Click, 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 click. That's something that's cool. It's going to be a lot of no, 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 no. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. And so one of the things that I recommend is go get yourself a VA, a virtual assistant, and have them help you do this speed scanning, right? Go and have them go 5, 10 pages deep in competitor search results for the product that you want to sell. Download all of the competitor images, have them categorize them by image type. So you've got main images, maybe you've got product packaging, right? You've got an anatomy graphic, a sizing graphic. And then what you're going to do is once they're categorized into these groups, you're just going to click through, click, 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 click. And then when there's something that you like, something that you think looks really good, really dynamic, you're going to make a note on that. You're going to say, okay, I like this sizing graphic because of whatever reason. And what you're going to try to do is you're going to try to identify what are the powerful elements? What is the basis of this graphic and why does it work so well? What is it about my brain that got that information, it digested the information, and it makes me want to learn more about the product? A couple other tips. Again, you want to shift your team's creative focus. If you can do this from the beginning, I learned this way too long in my agency career and way too long in my selling journey that I would just go to an agency and I'd say, I want you to make me one design. And it was just one design and we're done. Shift your team's creative mindset from having one single deliverable to have them go and start to make 2 or 3 different versions of a logo, of product packaging, of an image, right? Really, really helpful to do that. It'll cost a little bit more, but again, your job is to go and discern out of these 3 options, which one is the best, which one is going to convert. Aside from this, what you really want to also do is start thinking of looking outside of Amazon. So a lot of sellers, when they just start, the only place they're going for inspiration is they're going around Amazon. They're looking at what all of their other competitors are doing. And the reason you don't want to do this is because Amazon is going to start to show you the exact same things over and over again. We're going to show some really good examples of this in part 2. But what I like to do is I like to start with magazines. In the US, magazines are very, very cheap. So I will subscribe to different magazines. I don't read the magazines. I'm just going to scroll through, especially lifestyle ones. And in every magazine, I'm going to find 2 or 3 different ideas for how something is presented graphically, lifestyle photography. I'm going to rip those out, or I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to send it to a designer. We've got a good example here on the screen of Become Someone Else, someone holding the book in front of their face. Again, I don't know if I'm going to necessarily use this on my products, but creativity, it's not magic. It's just like a muscle, right? And the more that you're working this creativity, surprise, surprise, the better you're going to get. Go and review demo reels for really good companies or look through portfolios for other agencies. Maybe if you're starting out, you can't afford the really expensive agencies, but go and check out and see what are the most expensive options doing. You can even book and request demo calls. A lot of agencies will get on the phone with you and they'll go and give you an audit on your listing and tell you all of the different things you can do. I don't recommend like subverting an agency, but if you're a limited budget and you're just starting out, go and do that. Another Facebook group that I really like is called Amazon Creatives. It is really cheap. I think it's maybe $1 or $2 US a month to join. The really cool thing about Amazon Creatives is they are always posting examples of infographics, of lifestyle, of A+ content that are really, really well done. So this is a great place to go for creative inspiration. The last tip that I have on here is start using something like the Glorify app to start creating better creative sketches. Glorify is just like Canva, but it's specifically for e-commerce products. So they have different templates that you can use to start doing infographics, different things like that. Back in the day, I used to sketch out just on paper and take a picture of it. Okay, here's what I want the infographic to look like. I'd send it over to my designer. Glorify, I think, is a little bit easier of a way to do that. Just pop these things into Glorify, send them over to your designer, and that's going to, again, help start working that creativity muscle. By looking through your templates, you'll see everything that's available. You can take that and go from there. In the second part, in part 2, we're going to cover all about managed experiments. I hope we have enough time for it. But this is a free tool that you can use to start split testing things like copy, A+ content, and main images all inside of Seller Central. And that's where I'm going to wrap up today. So keep in mind, again, when we're selling on Amazon, base conversion rate, at least 20%. If you have a conversion rate that's lower than 20%, with the exception of a few product categories, you have a big problem on your hands. You really want to be shooting for a conversion rate 40 or even 65+%. So with that being said, that's where I'm going to end this. Please join me in part 2. We're going to jump into the implementable strategies. If you have any questions, you want to discuss, you want to collaborate, you want to download slides, hit me up, Anthony@picfu.com. And again, join me again in part 2. Thank you so much. And I hope you found that to be educational, and I'll see you in part 2. Thanks again.